Colleen Hoover is somebody who completely and utterly baffles me, because with every single thing that she writes, I do not understand how she not only writes it, goes back, edits it, and then goes, yeah, that's good, that's a good story, this makes sense. Somehow she's a best-selling author, but she writes books where the male love interest is so completely and utterly horrible that if this was real life, the only advice that you would give to the female protagonist is to leave. Like, literally just leave and get on with your life and don't bother with this weird man. And probably tell the man to go to therapy.
Bye.
But no, instead, in her books, the main character always puts up with the man anyway, and then there's a happily ever after, a romantic ending, they get together and they're in love, and everything's okay. That's a ridiculous message to be sending to people in general. Like, just stick with your man, no matter how terrible or lacking in an actual personality besides being kind of angry and dismissive. Just stick with them, no matter what. It's ridiculous. So much so that I've actually had to tell my oldest niece that if she reads these books, I will kick her ass. I won't literally do that, but it was just my way of telling her, do not read these books because they're bad. And that was a legitimate concern for me, by the way, because Colleen Hoover, her main demographic is young women and girls. And she is a best-selling author, and her books are everywhere. Like, in the window of every Eason's, her books are there, because everybody's reading her. And I don't understand how. I don't get why we all think it's okay. Now, her books have not been without backlash, obviously. The bigger she's gotten and the more her books have been read, the more people have read them and been critical and said, this is actually not a good message to be sending people, and your male characters are horrific. Maybe stop. Now, one of her biggest books doesn't necessarily follow that romantic storyline as the other books do. That's It Ends With Us. You've probably heard of that book if you've heard of Colleen Hoover. It's, from what I know, her most successful book. On first glance, it does look like a romance book. Like, you would think that it is, and when you're reading the book, you would think that as well. But it turns out, and as you find out later, it's not actually a romance, it's a book about domestic violence. Now, I will come out here and say, I haven't read it, but I've watched full reviews, and I've seen full reviews of her other books. Check out Lazy for those reviews. And from what I've gathered, this doesn't seem to be the worst offender of her books. But in fairness, her books are all really, really awful, in my opinion. So it's kind of not high praise to say this isn't the worst of them. But at least this book is, you know, it's about something terrible, and it doesn't claim that it's not terrible, if you get what I'm trying to say. Every year, 15 million Americans become victims to identity theft. Anyone can find anything on the internet, and this includes your full legal name, your address, your phone number, and even information about your relatives. This information about you can be sold by data brokers to anybody from telemarketers to scammers who will use this information against you. Which is why I'm very happy to tell you that today's video is sponsored by Aura. Aura is a service that will identify data brokers that are using your information and will automatically submit opt-out requests on your behalf. And as well as that, they'll even opt you out of junk mail and telemarketing lists, which is really, really handy, and it's something that I personally wish I knew about sooner, because you have no idea how many spam emails I get on a daily basis from people pretending to be sponsors. It's very annoying. It's a really fantastic service that I would definitely recommend you check out and try for yourself. So if you want to, you can go to aura.com/Vangelina or scan this QR code to try Aura for free for 2 weeks. So you can see how many data brokers are sharing your information. And that link is in the description as well. Seriously, you will be shocked by how many things pop up. Aura also monitors your emails and passwords to see if they were involved in a data breach and exposed on the dark web, and then will give you recommendations on what you can do. They also have a VPN, password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitoring, internet parental controls, and protects your devices from malware. Essentially, they have every single kind of internet safety tool that you would possibly need. It really is such an amazing service for trying to keep yourself safe online, and I would definitely recommend that you check it out. So if you want to try it for free for 14 days, then like I said, you can use my link, aura.com/Vangelina. That's also in the description, or you can scan the QR code to redeem 14 days for free. You will really be shocked at how much information Aura finds has been exposed over those 2 weeks. She did get a lot of backlash for this book though, because a lot of people were saying the way that it was written and the way the story is based and some of the things that the protagonist does make it seem like it's romanticizing domestic violence. So there was quite a bit of criticism for it, which makes it even more baffling that with all of this, she and her team decided it would be a good idea to release a colouring book based on this book, based on It Ends With Us. It's such a bizarre sentence, I can't believe I'm saying it. It's also such a bizarre idea for a product. Like, we have this book here that's about abuse. So we're going to make a colouring book out of that. Like, seriously, are they planning to put in the scenes where he pushes her down the stairs? Are you going to colour that in? Or another page where it's going to be like, colour in the bruises? What? Whose idea was it? She's a big author. That had to go through a bunch of people to be approved. I just don't understand how nobody along that line said, probably not a good idea, actually. Maybe we could do a colouring book based on anything else. You know what you could do though? Instead of spending your money on terrible colouring books or on terrible books in general, you could go to wildtunta.com and buy high quality and sustainable fashion and homeware. I didn't know how else to segue into that. So I apologise, but I just really wanted to tell you guys, in case you hadn't heard, that I have a new shop. It's very cool. I'm very excited about it. Check it out. Link in the description. That is all I will say. But I did want to throw that in there. Anyway, there is this article about this whole situation. Colleen Hoover apologizes for tone-deaf colouring book based on domestic violence novel. That is a title and a half. Best-selling author cancelled plans for a colouring book based on her novel It Ends With Us, saying she absolutely sees why fans were critical. I don't understand why she couldn't see that before they made the announcement that this book was going to come out. I don't know why she had to be told this is a bad idea, but okay. At least she accepted that it's a bad idea. Best-selling author Colleen Hoover has apologised after she announced plans to publish a colouring book based on one of her best-selling novels about DV. The US author of It Ends With Us announced the official It Ends With Us colouring book on social media on Thursday. I'm sorry, it's just such a terrible idea that I have to laugh at it or I'm going to cry. Like, who thought this was okay? Anyway, but after furious backlash from readers, she apologised that same day, writing that she could absolutely see how the idea was tone deaf. The colouring book was developed with Lily's strength in mind. Lily is the main character. But I can absolutely see how this was tone deaf. I hear you guys and I agree with you. No excuses, no finger pointing. I have contacted the publisher to let them know I would prefer we don't move forward with it. Thank you for the respectful discourse and accountability. Nothing but love. I mean, at least she accepted what was being said to her. Whether that was to save face or not, I don't know. I don't care to know, really. It doesn't really matter. She just said she's not going to put it out. So that's good. Again, though, still don't understand how you didn't see that in the first place. Seems plainly obvious to me. I also want to read you just a tiny bit from the Daily Mail because it was kind of funny. They do like a summary of the article at the top of the article. Author Colleen Hoover has been slammed after she announced plans to create a colouring book based on one of her best-selling novels. She announced the drawing book was inspired by the book It Ends With Us, which is centred around domestic violence. Readers were furious at her tone-deaf decision and questioned her audacity. She has since issued an apology and revealed she has ceased the project. Now, this is all really recent, and I just don't understand how she and her team, knowing the backlash that she's had for her books in general and how critical people have been of her books in general, how Nobody stepped in and said, a colouring book about this book is a terrible idea and do not do it. But I feel like I've said variations of that sentence so many times, I'm just going to drop it. Because I think you're all as baffled as I am, and if you're not, then clearly there's something wrong with me. The publishing company said, we developed this book to be uplifting and empowering, mirroring Lily Bloom's story. When they were announcing that they were cancelling this. The thing is, sure, but in fairness, all the colouring book is the fact that this is a best-selling novel, and they thought, how can we make more money off it? Colouring book? Sure, people like to do that. What's popular with young women and girls who read these kind of books? Colouring book. Why not? That was probably the entire thought process. And there probably should have been more of a thought process, but there wasn't. And that is, I think, my fourth variation of that same sentence. I'm still stuck on that point, as you can tell. But anyway, this situation is ridiculous. Colleen Hoover, in my opinion, is ridiculous. And you know what? In a lot of other people's opinions too. So do let me know in the comments what you think about all of this. And also let me know if you are well versed in the Colleen Hoover universe. Have you read any of her books and what do you think? Thank you so much though for watching today's video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It really, really does help me out. And you can also turn on all notifications, not personalized. Make sure it's all with that little bell button right beside the subscribe button. You can also follow me on social media. I'm VangelinaSkov everywhere. And have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.